Syrian refugee has just been charged with the murder of 13-year-old Marrisa Shen in Burnaby, British Columbia. Today, I'll tell you what we know so far about the suspected killer and what the mainstream media doesn't want you to talk about. 28-year-old Syrian refugee Ibrahim Ali had only been in the country approximately 3 months before he is alleged to have murdered Marrisa Shen. Her body was found in a Vancouver park, July 2017, after an exhaustive search for the young girl after she was reported missing by her family. So let's go through what we know so far about the suspected killer of 13-year-old Marrisa Shen, a Syrian refugee named Ibrahim Ali. Now, most of the information we have so far is from the Vancouver Sun. And you know what? Full credit where it's due. The Vancouver Sun is doing some very good journalism on this story so far. That is, for being the mainstream media. They're actually asking tough questions about the immigration status of the alleged killer and how he came to be in Canada in the first place. And I imagine the Vancouver Sun is facing a lot of pushback from the left and immigration activists for this article here, but this is rare, good Canadian journalism, albeit, some social justice activism has crept into it, but that's, sort of expected at this point. From the Vancouver Sun article, Ali is a Syrian national and a permanent resident of Canada who came to the country 17 months ago, Superintendent Donna Richardson said. Richardson did not know whether he was a privately sponsored or government-assisted refugee, but believed he has family in Burnaby and was employed. Okay, you know what? Wait right here. Why am I supposed to care if the accused murderer has a job? Honestly, is this to try to dispel some myth about the Syrian migrant community that is, actually true? We know most of the refugees remain unemployed, and it's gross to try to use a suspected child killer to prove otherwise. You know what? Just stop it. Anyway, let's go on. A law enforcement source who was not authorized to speak publicly said IHIT has asked the Canada Border Services Agency for more information about Ali. That source confirmed Ali did not arrive at a port of entry in Canada to claim asylum. A spokeswoman for the Immigration and Refugee Board was unable to find records of any public proceedings in which Ali was involved. So now we know for sure. Ali was not an illegal asylum seeker, which means that Ali came through all the official government channels. But the government has now completely lost track of him. They can't find any record of him at all, despite the fact that he's a permanent resident. The article also says that Ali was not known to police and that he did not know Marrisa before he killed her. Police believe the murder was a random act. We still don't know how Marrisa died or what her killer did to her before he took her life. And I'm not really sure I ever want to know. Now, the Vancouver Sun article quotes the Immigration Ministry as well. Immigration Minister Ahmed Hussein's office did not respond to a request for comment, but in a statement, an official with the department said, every refugee undergoes a robust, multi-layered screening before being allowed to enter Canada. Well, we know for sure that's not true. We have the access to information documents to prove this is a complete and total lie. I uncovered this information in my ongoing refugee investigation series. We learned that Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada is not requiring police checks to be done on Syrian refugees before they come to Canada, not from their home country, nor from the country they are living in at the time of claiming asylum. What this means is that a refugee to Canada can be living in, let's say, Jordan for several years, may have committed crimes there, and even be convicted and sentenced and jailed for crimes there, or even be a wanted person there. And that information is not required on a refugee application. The government isn't even asking the questions required to keep Canadians safe, and they've changed the rules specifically for Syrians because these bureaucrats were trying to rush to meet Trudeau's virtue quotas. So no, these migrants are not undergoing the so-called robust, multi-layered screening before they enter Canada. Some of them weren't even subject to a simple Google or social media search before they landed officially on Canadian soil. We just learned last week that the Canadian Border Services Agency has only deported less than 400 illegal border crossers out of 32,000, despite every single one of them breaking the law to enter into our country. And a Global News investigation from March uncovered that since 2015, the Immigration and Refugee Board said it had issued 70 deportation orders for security, but the CBSA said it had only conducted 14 removals on security grounds during those same years. And who could forget this from 2015, when anyone with a lick of sense said there was no way to screen all these refugees in such a short amount of time. Trudeau vows to keep Canadians safe as he rebuffs concerns over plan to accept 25,000 Syrian refugees. The Prime Minister said protecting Canadians is his top job and that security has always been at the very core of what we're planning to do on refugees. Except it wasn't at the core of anything, and we know that for sure now. The mainstream media in Canada outside of the Vancouver Sun has been, quite terrible in reporting the facts of this case. Burnaby News Now went out of their way to scrub the details of the alleged killer from their headline. Their headline went from a Syrian refugee being charged with Marrisa's murder to a 28-year-old man. His details are relevant, so why hide the information from the public? And CBC, well, they just call him a Burnaby man. The foreign press has been much better than the Canadian press covering this story. They don't hide the fact the suspected killer is a refugee. It's right there in their headline. And the South China Morning Post says it too. Syrian refugee Ibrahim Ali is charged with the murder of Vancouver schoolgirl Marrisa Shen, 13, in a case that stunned Canada. Police say Ibrahim Ali, 28, arrived in Canada just 3 months before Shen was found dead in a Burnaby park in 2017. Oh, but the state broadcaster, they know who the real victims are in all of this, even though Marrisa Shen is the one that's dead. You see, it's other Syrian refugees who say they may face persecution and stereotyping now that one of their own is charged in Marissa's murder. Not all that surprising of a hot take, really, from the CBC. They took this exact same position when a Syrian refugee named Solomon Haj Solomon was accused of molesting 6 young girls at an Edmonton area water park. And Vice Canada, well, they know who the real bad guy is in all of this. The suspected killer, well, he only gets a passing mention in this article, while Vice gets busy accusing those people who are concerned about lax migrant security screening of using this murder to push an anti-immigrant agenda. Vice and CBC, if you're watching me right now, let me just say, I'm not anti-immigrant. Heck, I'm not even anti-refugee. I'm anti-fake refugees who are living in the safety of Jordan, who are now eating up resources meant for real refugees. And I'm pro-comprehensive security screening for real refugees who want to make Canada their new home. And that just doesn't exist right now. Oh, and I'm also anti-rape culture, including the kind of sexual harassment Vice subjected women in their offices to. I'm anti-refugees killing girls in parks and molesting them in Edmonton wave pools, and I think you should be too. That doesn't make me Islamophobic or even anti-Syrian refugee. It makes me pro-women, pro-children, and pro-security. For the Rebel.Media, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. What you just saw there is my daily video that I do here at The Rebel. But did you know that I have my own weekly full-length show? It's aptly called The Gun Show, and we talk about these issues that the mainstream media doesn't want to touch with a 10-foot pole. But to get access to my show and the rest of our incredible premium content, treat yourself to a Rebel subscription today.